everybody, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, welcome to the channel. My name is Angie. Today I am just going to be kind of explaining the last week to you guys and what has been going on with me and the baby and just the whole story of kind of what happened. So I'm just gonna start from the beginning. My husband was financially providing for us since the day we got together, which was about 4 years ago, and I could just tell that he was getting a little burnt out. He wasn't getting to spend much time with the kids. He was getting home super late, gone for tons and tons of hours a day. And so about 7 months ago, I decided that I wanted to take over financially for our family. So that's kind of where this whole story starts, is me working a full-time job. I work as a server, and up until recently I was also working as a home care provider. I am 14, almost 15 weeks pregnant. Last week I had went to work and I was there for probably about 2 to 3 hours. Obviously serving is a lot of standing and walking. It wasn't a super crazy day. I wasn't any more busy than I usually would have been. I had about 8 tables that I was serving. And then all of a sudden I started cramping, and this was not light cramping. Like, this was drop to your knees, not being able to stand type of cramping. I was actually like serving a table, like talking to these people when this started, and I had to leave in the middle of a conversation with somebody and walk away and then just drop because I was in so much pain. I went and found my manager and kind of explained the situation to her. I had gone to the bathroom hoping that that would help, and I ended up just finding out that I was bleeding as well, which bleeding and cramping in pregnancy is a very dangerous mix, and I just automatically in my head I knew for a fact that something was very, very wrong. I should also say that when I get pregnant, so far with all of my pregnancies, I am sick the entire 9 months, and not just like a little bit sick, but barely keeping water down or any type of food down type of sick. So I would like to mention that I was extremely dehydrated, but I'd explained all this to my manager, and obviously she was extremely worried, and she had sat me down at a table where I was like laying my head down. I was going in and out of consciousness. There was a lot of chaos going around me, with other managers and people walking through and just all of that. So there was a lot of chaos, you know, obviously calling 911, and I was in and out of consciousness. Finally they sat me up and they walked me to a different part, and I sat down. They were setting me down to wait for the ambulance, and I think it was just all of this crazy adrenaline of like, I'm 4 months pregnant and I'm losing my baby. Like, that's all that was going through my head, and I think the adrenaline made me sick. I hadn't eaten or drank anything that day, which was not unusual for me. I usually eat my first meal around 3 or 4 o'clock, just because that's usually when I can keep a little bit down, is later in the day. So I hadn't eaten or drinking anything yet, and I think it was just the adrenaline. I puked and puked and puked and puked, and I puked probably 9+ times. I could not stop projectile vomiting. Like, I know that sounds gross, but I couldn't stop. I physically couldn't stop puking, and I couldn't breathe because I was puking. Like, it was a lot. And obviously the firefighters and the ambulance both pulled up together, and firefighters were getting out in the ambulance, the EMTs, and I was just sitting there puking. I couldn't even get on their stretcher thing. Like, they couldn't get vitals because I could not stop puking. Eventually I finally stopped. This was well after I was puking up tons of stomach acid, so I think finally my body was like, you have nothing left in you to puke, even if we wanted to. So I finally stopped puking. They got me on the little bed and they put me in the ambulance, where they tried to get an IV, which when you're severely dehydrated, it is hard to get an IV. They had to poke me so many different places, so many different times, and this entire time I'm just kind of like almost passing out, but kind of more like zoned out and just like loopy, I would say, because I had just puked, I had just gone like pretty much unconscious while I was laying on the table. Like, I was worried about the baby, like all of that. I didn't even care how many times they were poking me because my head was just not there. Eventually, they finally got an IV in, and they started fluids to get me hydrated, and then they also pushed a nausea medication in there to get me to hopefully stop puking. So yeah, and then I headed to the hospital, obviously in the ambulance, and when I got there, I was there for probably a good 30 minutes, maybe an hour, before I was in the right headspace to be able to call Jordan, because this entire time I was so zoned out. I didn't even feel like I was there. Like, it was like an out-of-body experience. I didn't feel like I was in my body, and I had no sense to call anybody or even get my phone, because this entire time of all of this going on, when the first cramp started, my instant reaction was to reach behind me and pull off my apron, because I'm a server and my phone and my keys and all of my stuff was like in this apron. And my first instinct was to just, you know, pull it off and throw it somewhere, and I didn't get my phone until somebody brought it like out to the ambulance. Which even when I had my phone, I couldn't even process calling anybody. So I wasn't able to like text Jordan or call him until I was already at the hospital for like an hour and became like lucid enough to be able to text him. I think part of me just thought that somebody had already gotten a hold of him and let him know what was going on, but that wasn't true. He had no idea what was going on. So I finally got a hold of Jordan, and he came. The doctors, you know, obviously came in and they did blood work. They gave me more fluids. They did an ultrasound, which the ultrasound overall went really good. We were able to see baby, and baby was like moving around, and we have a picture of baby like sucking his or her thumb, and the ultrasound went overall really well, and we did not even think remotely that there was an issue because we saw the baby moving and doing so well and all of that. So I will actually show you guys the pictures from the ultrasound that day. So these are some of the pictures that we got that day. Like, the rain light is making it kind of hard, but that is baby sucking his or her thumb. We got baby's side profile. We got baby's face. Overall, nobody looks at those photos or looks at what we saw on the ultrasound and says, that's a problem. Like, there was nothing in me or Jordan's head that said that's a problem. We went back into the room after the ultrasound, and we were just like, okay, the baby's okay. The baby's heart is beating. He or she is moving. Like, this is good. Like, that's great news. Then the ER doctor came in, and she had said that you are at risk for a threatened miscarriage, is what she said. She said that it is very, and I have had previous miscarriages around the 6-week mark, where it is very likely to have a miscarriage, especially because I have PCOS and I have experienced miscarriage before. But as soon as I hit about that 12 weeks, that thought kind of leaves my head, and I'm just like, okay, like, we're safe. But she said, like, you are still at risk for a miscarriage and there's a chance you could still lose this baby. Like, I can't even explain, like, the type of fear that puts in your head. Especially because, like, as bad as this sounds to say it, all of my previous miscarriages, I was able to pass the baby and have the baby, and that was it. And we never saw a heartbeat on any one of our miscarriages. We never saw a baby. It was just, we saw that pregnancy test and then we lost the baby. This pregnancy has been, here's the heartbeat, here's the baby sucking his or her thumb, like, I've had like 4 ultrasounds. Here's all of these ultrasound pictures. You know, obviously we found out we were pregnant with twins with this pregnancy. We lost one of the twins, and I just couldn't imagine a miscarriage that late. And I know it is very possible, but I have never experienced it personally. And the thought of having to go through a D&C is horrifying. It's literally horrifying to me. Or, you know, possibly, depending on how far along I am, having to give birth to a baby that's no longer alive is just beyond me, and it's just terrifying. So when those words came out of her mouth, that was horrifying. It was really, really hard to hear. And she said, I'm putting you on bed rest. And a few days later, I had an appointment with my midwife to kind of follow up and see if I needed to stay on bed rest. And she had concluded kind of that they can't really identify what's wrong until they get my hydration back, because she said that it could be because I'm so dehydrated. So they are trying right now to get me hydrated, so they can see if there is another problem besides me being so dehydrated. But she did say, I'm putting you on bed rest for a week, and that week ends in a few days, and then we have to reevaluate and see if I'm still on bed rest. She did not, the ER doctor seemed extremely concerned about us losing the baby, and my midwife obviously listened to heartbeat and did not seem as concerned. So obviously I trust my midwives wholeheartedly, and I'm kind of just going off of what they are giving me right now. Obviously they are trained in the whole baby department more than an ER doctor is. So I am just kind of going with the kind of vibe that she portrayed off, was that she was not too concerned about the baby. She was more concerned about my hydration. So I am just kind of sticking with that right now and just running with it. I am still terrified to lose this baby. I'm terrified to have a miscarriage or a stillbirth. I cannot explain the type of fear that I have right now, but I just have to put it out of my mind and think, like, right now this is the baby. Like, the baby is moving, the baby is okay, the baby is sucking his or her thumb, like, the baby's heart is beating and the baby is growing. Like, that is the only thing I am allowing in my head right now, because I can't handle thinking about anything else right now. I just have to think that the baby's okay. And usually this part of pregnancy, you only see your midwife or OBGYN once a month, but I am now seeing her every 2 weeks or every week. So that kind of also puts my mind at ease, because I get to go in and either have an ultrasound or a Doppler or whatever to hear the baby and make sure baby is okay. I also went over and used my sister-in-law's Doppler, and we got to hear the baby's heartbeat. So right now my mind is at ease, but that is just the baby. Like, I still have 2 other amazing, beautiful children, and I feel like I'm sucking as a mom on that end right now. Like, I'm bed resting to be a good mom to this baby, but I'm not being a good mom to my other babies. Like, I just, in no situation in this situation will I win. Like, it's been a challenge, and all of a sudden being like, okay, well, I've been solely providing for our financially for our family of 5 for 7 months now. Sorry, I can't do it anymore. Thank goodness Jordan finds things and finds ways to go make money and helps out with his family and stuff like that, and finds side jobs. Thank goodness for him, but it doesn't mean that it hasn't been hard for me having to be like, okay, well, I can't go to work right now. I can't provide for you guys. And it's so hard not like wanting to just like run with my kids. Like, I just want to play with them and run with them, and I don't know. But if you guys have stories where you have been put on bed rest and you've had other kids, or you know, you have lost a baby or have been at risk for a threatened miscarriage, please just feel free to send me your stories. I would love to hear them. I feel very lonely in this right now. I just feel like defeated, and this is something we're gonna get through, and you know, obviously we'll come out the other side stronger, but it has definitely been hard, that is for sure. I am looking forward to this part of pregnancy where I get to feel the baby's kicks and enjoy the pregnancy and get to run around with my babies and just have all 3 of them in my arms. And yeah, so I hope that kind of sums up what's going on. I don't like to put out just, oh, here's a bunch of sadness, but I know for a fact there are other moms who have gone through something similar. So I hoped that me sharing this did help you a little bit if you're going through something similar. But the next videos will hopefully be more positive. I am trying to do gingerbread houses and wrapping presents and still making it fun and Christmassy for the kids. So I will be recording that. But for now, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you